Rhode Island has officially passed a new law restricting anticoagulant rodenticides. So what does this actually mean for homeowners and pest control companies in the industry today? Let's break it down. So most of the rodent baits people think of when they see those black boxes around their home, or if they have a company come out, they'll put smaller black stations inside their home. Most of those contain an anticoagulant rodenticide. These products kill rodents by preventing them from clotting their blood. Okay, so supporters of the new law have issued that the problem with this is that it can have effects on wildlife or higher up in the food chain. So if that rodent eats that rodenticide, then if that rodent is eaten by a bird of prey, like a hawk or an owl or even a fox, that predator is at risk of getting poisoned with rodenticide as well. So this legislation being passed in Rhode Island stops us from using those rodenticides and taking away that risk. So what changes? Okay, so first of all, I'd like to be clear with everybody that the law, it's in phases over time. So this is not an immediate ban on all rodenticides in Rhode Island. This does not mean that your companies can't use rodenticide. This does not mean you can't still go purchase rodenticide at the store. The law has made it so that's going to happen in phases. And so let's talk about those phases. So the beginning phase starts in March 1st of 2027. In that phase, first generation anticoagulant rodenticides can no longer be sold to consumers. So those products can't be bought at stores any longer and make it harder for anyone who's using them can no longer use them. So it's not making it harder, it's just taking them away. All right. Second, beginning in January 1st, 2028, second generation anticoagulants are now becoming restricted. All right. So when a product becomes restricted, it means that you need a certain level of licensing and certification to use that product to validate that you're an expert in that product and that you'll use it in the most safe and appropriate manner. As of January 1st, 2029, all of these products largely become prohibited statewide, regardless if it's a homeowner or a pest control company, although there will be some limited exceptions for certain public health, agricultural, and food production areas where it still might be necessary. So I do like to say that when it comes to rodenticide, there is no one bait cures all, and there is no magic bait. So it's not that we won't be able to solve rodent problems now that this rodent bait is gone, but things are going to change. So let's talk about what that means. So let's start, what does that mean for homeowners? That means that if your solution to dealing with a rodent problem in your own home for the last couple of years has been, hey, I just go to the hardware store, I pick up some bait, I put out some bait, and the rodent problem is under control. That's not really gonna be an option anymore. And honestly, it's a good thing because ultimately that was never the solution to a rodent problem in the first place. People often mistake what even pest control companies do as, oh, they just put out bait and they get the mice to go away. Bait is a tool, and it is something that we can use to help control the situation or even monitor a rodent situation, but it's not the solution. So this means homeowners are gonna have to focus more on exclusion and mechanical controls. So what do I mean by exclusion and mechanical controls? It means exclusion would be going around your home and really kind of trying to figure out how are the mice getting in, okay? And how do I seal up these entry points where they're getting in to make sure they can't get in anymore? And then when they do get in, what are they eating? All right, so I gotta make sure they can't get to food, and I gotta make sure I'm keeping the house very, very clean. And this could be not only a residential home, but also a commercial establishment. Sanitation, eliminating food sources, and sealing entry points are gonna become a huge priority for people now that rodenticides are gonna be limited. Also, you're gonna be using a lot more mechanical controls. This is going back to traditional methods, meaning traps, snap traps, or using non-kill traps. Those are gonna be devices that are much more commonly used by homeowners to help gain control in their home. It's something in our industry we refer to as integrated pest management. So that's something you're going to hear a lot more coming up in the future here. Integrated pest management is the idea of doing all those things I just meant, working on sealing up entry points, working on using traps, working on improving sanitation, and keeping the mice out of the home rather than just eliminating the mice once they come into the home. All right, so homeowners are going to have to treat this with a little bit of a different perspective, but so are pest control companies. So what does this mean for companies like myself over here at Debug? What's going to happen with us? I'll tell you what, this is probably the biggest change in our industry that we've seen, at least in the rodent control part of the industry, in years. This is gonna have drastic effects on how we're able to do our rodent control. With these products being phased out, pest management will rely a lot more on IPM, or what I was talking about with homeowners, is we're gonna have to rely heavily on thorough inspections, rodent proofing and excluding your building, really emphasizing a trapping program, recommending sanitation cleanup, and monitoring activity, not monitoring activity or controlling rodents simply by putting out rodenticide. So what does this mean? Well, this means that rodent control is going to become much more labor intensive. So there is a chance that you could see increased costs in rodent control, as no longer will it be that we can put out a rodenticide and just place that and go, but rather that we're going to have to do some additional work, be checking traps, we're going to be excluding homes. This isn't a bad thing. It's just a different way of approaching rodents, and it will require, to be honest, it will require people to be a little bit more thorough, which could be a good thing, of inspecting that home and identifying how they're getting in the first place. All right? So looking ahead, personally, I think this is going to be good for the industry. It's really going to emphasize integrated pest management, which is something that we strongly believe in here. And it's going to require people to go in that different direction, which is ultimately solving the problem rather than putting a Band-Aid on it. So what this really means going ahead into the future is that laws are going to change, and with the law changing and with these effects coming in, rodent control in general is going to change. I had a lot of calls coming in, especially this has been in the news a lot lately, so a lot of people have questions. So I just thought this would be a great time to make this video, just to give you a real understanding of what this law is, what it means, and what to expect in the future, and where rodent control is going. All right, so I'm excited for the future. Let's get at it, and let's get going taking care of those rodent problems at your home.